good afternoon, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to serve as your Masters of Ceremonies for this global annual meeting of the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise. We are back. We are back at this beautiful building of the Organization of American States. It is here, almost 10 years ago, where we actually hosted our first annual meeting. So it has a big significance and symbolism for us to be here, especially as we are acknowledging the champion role that the Organization of American States has in promoting efficient cyber capacity building, the very kind of main raison d'être for the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise. We are also meeting here at a time that is very significant for the GFC as we go through some rather significant changes to our governance structures, and we cannot wait to share with you some more details during the meeting today. The changes that we will learn about today are nothing dramatic. We are doing it with the same familiar faces and trusted colleagues that to us are a guarantee of success. Yet we do hope that they will provide some fresh momentum for not only our organization, but also for cyber capacity building in general. The changes are also underlined by the very important developments for the GFC connected to the global conference on cyber capacity building. I hope now a very famous acronym, the GC3B, as we are on our way to Geneva in May, where hosted by the Swiss government, we will have the second GC3B conference and hope to see many of you there. Also during this meeting, we will learn more details about this upcoming meeting. The theme of this meeting, as you might have already read in the booklet, is bridging cyber capacity. And we do hope that during the discussions that we will have in these 2 days, we will really bridge some of the questions connected to this. I would also like to, of course, highlight the very crucial role of our sponsors and donors, without whom this annual meeting and the activities of the GFC would not be possible at all. We are, of course, very thankful to the governments of the Netherlands, the USA, Canada, Germany, New Zealand, and others, as well as to BAE Systems for really helping us putting this meeting together. As I already mentioned, this meeting would not be possible without the support and the very kind hosting of the Organization of American States. And with this, I would be very pleased to give the floor to you, Your Excellency, the Assistant Secretary General of the Organization of American States, Mr. Nestor Mendez. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I guess that was a little too loud. But anyway, after that big lunch, I hope a little noise will salt you up. It's not the best time of the afternoon to be listening to very long speeches, so I promise I won't be long. It's an honor and a privilege to welcome you to the Organization of American States and to this one of our flagship halls. It is one of the most recognizable venues in the area of Washington, D.C., and we're delighted to welcome you here. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and friends, almost 10 years ago, the international community gathered in The Hague to launch the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, otherwise known as the GFCE. The OS General Secretariat was proud to join the GFCE as a founding member, along with dozens of national governments, private sector entities, and other intergovernmental organizations, many of whom are again gathered here today. I am delighted to welcome all of you back to this House of the Americas for the 2024 GFCE meeting. Indeed, as was mentioned earlier, some years ago we hosted the first meeting of the GFCE here at the OS. Our decision as an institution. To join the GFCE was a good decision then, and it continues to be even more so now, as the GFCE has made significant contributions to promoting a safer cyberspace across the world. The security and resilience of our digital environment is key. All of us, as part of the global community, share a common responsibility to safeguard cyberspace for the benefit of all. The digital revolution, as you know, continues to offer unprecedented opportunities. It has connected our nations, empowered our economies, and enriched our societies. Yet, alongside these remarkable advancements comes a profound vulnerability, the growing threat of cyber attacks. As our reliance on technology deepens, so too does the potential for exploitation by those who seek to do others harm. You here in this room have a tremendous job to do. It's a big undertaking, and we're sure that you're up to the task. In Latin America and the Caribbean, as in many regions, the rapid pace of digital adoption has been a double-edged sword. While we have made great strides in embracing technology, we continue to incur new and complex risks. Data from the EY Global Cybersecurity Leadership Insight Study concludes that 91% of Latin American companies recorded a cybersecurity incident last year, while 62% have suffered a data breach. In the second quarter of this year alone, Checkpoint Research, a cyber threat intelligence entity, concluded that there had been a 30% year-on increase in cyber attacks globally, reaching 1,636 attacks per organization per week. Incidents such as ransomware attacks or data breaches are not just technical issues. They have strong impact across the Americas, since they can disrupt essential services, erode public trust, and have far-reaching economic consequences. These can affect everybody. Moreover, the actors behind these attacks can and often do include organized criminal enterprises, sometimes operating with impunity and in the process undermining the rule of law in our region. In the face of these challenges, it is evident that no country can tackle these threats alone. Cybersecurity does not recognize borders, and our efforts to address these threats should not either. We need to continue to embrace international cooperation as a way forward, one in which nations work together, share information, and build collective resilience against cyber threats. We must stand united, recognizing that our security is intertwined with that of our neighbors and the broader international community. By engaging as a global community, as we are doing here today, we can continue together to identify gaps and to focus on enhancing cybersecurity efforts to address those gaps. As a practical matter, we should also continue our efforts to establish global and regional frameworks that facilitate the sharing of best practices of threat intelligence and of resources. Very importantly, of resources. That is why conferences like this are so important. These events help us establish clear communication channels among all stakeholders, governments, international organizations, donors, and other implementers, define roles and responsibilities, and determine priorities and available resources. These efforts help to ensure that each sector contributes effectively to a broader strategy to promote cybersecurity on a global level. At the OAS, our vision on cybersecurity is that we should seek to arrive at a place where there are known rules for what is or is not acceptable to do in cyberspace, that governments and stakeholders are able to identify and respond to cyber threats and vulnerabilities, and that each region develops an educated workforce that can operate effectively in this fast-moving realm. Multilateral organizations, such as our own, the OAS, play a crucial role in this regard. The OAS, for instance, brings together 33 member states of the Americas, as well as industry partners, civil society, and academia in a way that few other institutions can. The OAS was a leader in creating a landmark strategy document on cybersecurity 20 years ago that is still very much relevant today. And as the newly created GFCE Hub for the Americas, the OAS is equally positioned to support cross-regional exchanges with other GFCE regional hubs. As we look ahead, we see that we still have significant challenges before us. Millions of people still lack access to the internet, and those who do have access, most often deal with slow, unreliable, and many times unaffordable service. As we work to bridge this divide, we must also ensure that the digital space we are opening up is secure for all users. This means that as we expand internet access, we should simultaneously invest in cybersecurity measures that protect users from threats. We also need to redouble efforts to educate our citizens of all ages on how to stay safe online, providing them with the tools and knowledge they need to navigate the digital world confidently. We should also promote responsible state behavior and accountability in cyberspace by adhering to international laws and norms, respecting a state's sovereignty, and refraining from conducting malicious cyber activities. This collective responsibility was reaffirmed earlier this summer during the 8th meeting of the UN Open-Ended Working Group on Information and Communication Technologies. And finally, we must encourage the ongoing adoption of good and effective cybersecurity practices and create a permanent cybersecurity culture across all sectors, including government, industry, educational institutions, and civil society organizations. In conclusion, cyber capacity building is no longer optional. It is now an imperative. As a global community, we need to take steps to imagine, to strive for, and to achieve a safer, more resilient digital future. The only way to reach that goal is together, not as individual nations, but as a global community dedicated to peace and security in cyberspace. By doing so, we will not only protect our digital world and promote a global culture of cybersecurity, but we will also create an environment where innovation can flourish and where all people can enjoy the benefits of a secure and trusted internet. I wish you productive meetings this week. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for these words, for also explaining us more about the vision of the OAS in cyber capacity building, and to appreciate the role of the OAS for this. I'm inviting Chris Painter, the chair of the GFC Foundation Board, to award you this little appreciation gift. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you once more. At this point, I would like to kindly ask you, Ambassador Martje Peters, the GFC co-chair and head of the Digital and Hybrid Threat Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Hopefully not too loud. Yeah, is it okay? Yeah. Well, thank you, Assistant Secretary General Nestor Mendes, for kindly agreeing to host this year's GFC annual meeting. Celebrating the annual meeting here at the OAS headquarters is a clear sign of the continuous collaboration between OAS and the GFCE, as well as the GFCE's continuous support to the Americas and the Caribbean region. Esteemed GFCE community, it is my great pleasure to be here today and to welcome you as co-chair of the GFCE, many GFC members, partners, colleagues to this event. Over the past year, the GFCE has achieved a number of exciting, concrete results that I would like to share with you today. I'll start with the Women in Cyber Fellowship. Also this year, the GFCE has facilitated the participation of 77 female diplomats in UN processes. This not only significantly increased the visibility, participation, and interventions of female diplomats in the UN discussion, it also meant a strong and meaningful engagement and collaboration of many more countries from all around the world in UN discussions on cyber issues. Furthermore, while the GFCE helped connecting national CCB ecosystems with their receptive regions and regions themselves with the international community through the network of regional teams and hubs in Africa, the Americas, the Pacific, and Southeast Asia, it also, through the GFCE's Africa Hub, facilitated the creation of the first African cyber capacity building agenda, including key stakeholders from the region. This was the result of connection and facilitating consultations between the most important African organizations active in the field of cyber capacity building. The GFCE has facilitated 3 regional meetings for the Latin American region in Santo Domingo, San Jose, and yesterday here in DC. These provided, amongst others, in-depth discussions and progress on advancing gender equality in cyber capacity building, alike with the important research presented yesterday in the OAS on the perceptions of women in cyber in the region. In November 2023, the GFCE co-organized the inaugural Global Conference on Cyber Capacity Building, the GC3B, in Ghana, bringing together a high-level, diverse, international, and multi-stakeholder community to discuss solutions, share results, and mobilize resources for CCB. Here, the Accra Call was adopted and by now endorsed by more than 70 countries and partners, including 20 pledges to implement the call. Many stakeholders, including in UN discussions, have reiterated this goal to integrate cyber capacity building in digital and development programs. The GFC community has grown and matured significantly in the past 9 years, now including over 230 members and partners. As a community-driven platform, each of you, through your expertise and collaboration, has shaped the GFCE into what it is today. The GFCE is a facilitating platform, and therefore the GFCE's success depends on its community engagement. Reflecting on this, it was decided last year that it was time to create a more inclusive and representative committee to create a feedback loop with the community on the strategic direction of the GFCE. I am proud to announce that as of 3 weeks ago, the Strategic Steering Committee was established and convened for the first time. The Strategic Steering Committee is a representative body comprising 10 members, 3 donors, and the chair of the foundation board in an ex officio capacity. The Strategic Steering Committee members have been carefully selected, taking into account geographical representation, gender balance, as well as expertise from governments, CSOs, and private sector. To streamline and enhance the governance of the GFCE, it was decided that the co-chairs and advisory board will transition into a newly established Strategic Steering Committee. The first in-person meeting took place yesterday, and I was pleased to see how the room was full of energy and ideas to work jointly to bring the GFCE to the next level. In order for this SSC to execute its mandate effectively, you can expect the community members to knock on your door and collect your input starting today. The SSC has been created to set the GFCE's key priorities while ensuring close consultations with the broader GFCE community. The SSC will ensure your voice is heard, even more clearly guiding the future of the GFCE with transparency and a shared vision. And also the GFCE Foundation Board has gone through some changes. I will leave it to Chris Painter to provide you with an update on this, speaking on behalf of the GFCE Foundation Board. Recognizing the growing needs of the community, I am pleased to announce that the Netherlands will renew its support with a new grant. In my role as a member of the SSC and a founding member of the GFCE, I call on you to join us in providing sustainable financial support for the Secretariat of the GFCE. Especially at this time of transition to an exciting and ambitious new phase, the GFCE needs a diverse and broad coalition of donors. So I call on countries, the private sector, and philanthropic community to join hands to provide the community that GFCE serves with your long-term commitment. Your support is essential for achieving our shared goals in cyber capacity building. Your collective efforts will continue to strengthen global cyber resilience. Finally, I would like to thank the GFCE Secretariat for their continued support in this process of governance restructuring, organizing this annual meeting, and for facilitating the ever-growing GFCE community. I wish everyone a productive annual meeting, and I look forward to reconnecting with all of you over the next days. Let's make the most of this time together, not just to reflect, but to look ahead, strategize, and to take bold collaborative steps that will open new pathways for global CCB, ensuring a safer and more resilient digital future for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Marcia, not only for highlighting some of the achievements of the GFC, but of course for the support of the Dutch government, which makes it possible to realize the vision of the forum. Thank you very much. With this, I would like to hand the floor to Chris Painter, the chair of the GFC Foundation Board. Chris, please guide us through. Thank you.
All right. First, it's great to be in this room. I have been working with the OAS for over 20 years, and I remember when I was still a cybercrime prosecutor at the Department of Justice, going down to Buenos Aires and working with the OAS and a number of other countries to create the blueprint that then in 2004 became the work of SICDE, the work of REMHA, the work of CTEL, as part of the blueprint where the OAS really was a first mover. It was the example for the rest of the world, and that still continues today, so thank you for that. Now, obviously, I'm a recovering lawyer, as I said, and normally, especially after lunch, you want to get the crowd a little woken up. So normally you would tell a joke, like a lawyer joke. But the problem with lawyer jokes in my long history is that lawyers don't think they're funny, and non-lawyers don't think they're jokes. So preaching. I have, and for many of you who know me well, I seldom do this. I actually have prepared remarks rather than speaking more extemporaneously, because there's a lot of things I want to say, and I want to make sure I get them all in. There's a problem with having prepared remarks, and if you lose some of them, or you get the pages out of order. And there was a great example of Vint Cerf, the father of the internet, speaking, I think it was the Internet Governance Forum, so a big group. And he was giving a great speech. He got to the last page, and the last page wasn't there. And so Vint, who's kind of an engineer, thinks like an engineer, just stopped his speech and walked off the stage. So I promise they won't do that. I'll figure out a way. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, again, it's a great pleasure to be here. And as I stand before you today, I'm filled with a deep sense of pride and gratitude when I reflect on the journey that we've all shared together. Since the GFC Foundation was established almost 5 years ago, I've had the privilege of serving as its president. That role has been more than just a title to me. It's been a mission, a passion, and a commitment to advancing our shared goal of global cybersecurity through all of our shared efforts. The GFC Foundation was established by the Dutch government to provide a formal legal structure for the GFC community, serving as an independent mechanism to support the activities of both the GFC community itself and the GFC Secretariat. The transition allowed us to move from a single donor model, which was, very gratefully to the Dutch, who launched this whole initiative back in 2015, as was mentioned, to a broader multi-donor system. In recent years, numerous members have utilized the foundation, including the Netherlands, the US, the UK, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Microsoft, Germany, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, and many others, and more to come, to achieve the objective of a coordinated approach, which is really our mission, to cyber capacity building through the GFC. When we first set out to create the GFC Foundation, our goal was clear: to build a strong, sustainable structure that could guide and sustain the work of the GFC community, all of you. The foundation board, when we were created back then, shortly before the pandemic, as it turned out, we didn't know that then, was just 3 people. Olaf Kochman, who's in the audience somewhere, Olaf, Inga Bryant, who has now left the board, and me. So 2 people from the Netherlands, 2 Dutch people, and me, a US person. But despite our varied backgrounds, we had varied backgrounds, we were united by a common purpose: to make a meaningful impact in the field of cyber capacity building and ensure stronger coordination of these important activities. Over these years, we faced challenges, celebrated successes, and importantly, we've grown from an organization as a community that was 99 members and partners when the foundation was created in 2019 to over 230 members and partners in 2024. So that's a substantial growth, not just in terms of numbers, but also in breadth of expertise and membership, which is incredibly important. During these years, we've received core funding from donors to be able to organize annual meetings like this and regional meetings and provide the community with core services. We have emphasized a shift to demand-driven capacity building, and we've been able to set up regional hubs, creating communities in their regions and developing regional networks such as the Cyber Capacity Building Coordination Committee in 2021, which has provided oversight and feedback on key cybersecurity capacity building projects and ensured great coordination and effective use of resources across the African continent, one of the priority areas, of course. Further, we've been able to develop and sustain a number of critical tools and mechanisms that you all know well, like the Civil Knowledge Portal and the Clearinghouse Mechanism, 9 cyber capacity building knowledge modules, and the catalog of options for establishing national cyber strategies. Also, we served members who wanted to make use of the GFC Foundation to coordinate impactful projects. Among many, I want to highlight a couple, especially the Program for Africa, funded by a very generous grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which established an active network of cyber experts, the African Cyber Experts Community, of over 35 AU member states that made a tangible mark in the cyber capacity building landscape and coordination in Africa. And if you were at our annual meeting last year, you met many of those folks. On a global level, we've been active and impactful participants in various UN processes like the UNGG, the ad hoc committee on the negotiation of the Cybercrime Treaty, which just wrapped up, and many others. Indeed, and I think this is significant, the UN relied on the Civil Portal as its key resource in doing their cyber capacity building mapping exercise. So that was a very important, impactful thing that the Civil Portal did. And now, UNIDIR, a part of the UN, has cross-linked their cyber policy portal with our Civil Portal. And that's a great example, and I think a very unusual example, of a multilateral institution, the states, partnering with a multi-stakeholder NGO. And I think that's a great model for going forward. And we continue to have great relations with them. Moreover, the GFC is the first non-state member of the very important counter-ransomware initiative, which has been a collection of states very important in this area, created just a few years ago. Now I think it's about 65 states, and the GFC. So we're the only ones that are not states. And that's really critical. It creates opportunities for us, but also expectations. And the foundation has ensured that our voices could be heard in shaping thinking on cyber capacity building more generally. And one example of that is the work we've done with Microsoft, Sweden, and the ITU to develop a compendium for mainstreaming cybersecurity into the digital development agenda, which, as you all know, and you'll hear more about during this meeting, that's a topic very close to our hearts since the ACRA call. And of course, speaking of the ACRA call, we were able to create and co-host with our partners, the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, the Cyber Peace Institute, the first of its kind global conference on cyber capacity building, bringing together the development community and the cyber community who often don't talk to each other but need to really work together. And we are thrilled that the Swiss will be hosting that next year in May. So a lot of work to do before then, but we're thrilled with that. I'm also, I'm very proud of our many successes, and there are many more than I mentioned here, and Marcia did mention some of them as well. Particularly since during the first 2 years of the foundation, we were pretty much chained to our houses, our apartments. We didn't really have the ability to go out in the world, which is what we all do in this area, because of the pandemic. And there are challenges, financial challenges of the pandemic, networking challenges, but we were able to have all this growth and success despite that. And of course, we all recognize that despite these successes, there's a lot more to do. We certainly need to strengthen the GFC's critical clearinghouse mechanism and further strengthen information sharing to fulfill the mission, to fulfill the promise of the GFC, and that's something that I look forward to all of us continuing to do in the future. But when I look at it, the GFC has evolved into a unique, truly global, and globally recognized, which is important. I think our brand is out there and very well understood, multi-stakeholder platform for cyber capacity building. And as I mentioned last year, it's important in my talk in Ghana at our annual meeting, given that, it's vital that as we move into the future of GFC, the GFC's governance mechanisms reflect its global face, the range of stakeholder groups who are the very fabric of the community, that it's reflective of that. It's also important for our governance to ensure the GFC's long-term sustainability as we move from what I think people commonly talk about as the startup phase and the growth stages, which I think we've gone through, to to really now the permanent stage, the becoming a permanent pillar of the cyber capacity building ecosystem, which I think we're well poised to do, but there's work to do. So that calls for structures of governance that are not dependent on any one person, but that are distributed and reflective of the entire community, you. We, and particularly I, over the last really 18 months, have been working to evolve the GFC's governance structures for all that time. And these things, I think we'd hoped to get some of these things launched earlier, including the strategic steering group, but these things never go to plan. They always take longer than you think. But it's important that we've done it. And it was important to us to make sure we got it right, too, to get the right people involved, the right representatives involved, and the right mission involved. And I think we've done that. So, Marcia mentioned this, the SSC, as we affectionately call the Strategic Steering Committee, is comprised of representatives of each stakeholder group, including donors, civil society, and the private sector, and also regionally balanced. It's a more formal, empowered, inclusive, and a transparent mechanism to represent all of you in shaping the strategy and direction of the GFC's future. Now, before this, I think Mario and David in particular, and me and Olaf and the rest of the leadership, we're pretty good at talking to you guys about what our priorities are. We didn't ignore you, certainly, but it was kind of ad hoc. And as we grow, as this mission becomes more important, it's important for there to be a more formal and transparent mechanism. We always say, the GFC always says, our mantra is we are a community-driven organization. So this allows us to not just say that, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And that's what we intend to do. Because it's really meant, as Marcia said, to be your window and your conduit in driving the GFC forward as a group effort. And as she also mentioned, it replaces some legacy structures, some that were created before the foundation, like the co-chairs, like the advisory committee, who you'll hear a little bit from Rick, one of the co-chairs of the advisory committee, the outgoing advisory committee later. But it also transfers those into something that's more representative. And I just want to say on the advisory committee, it's played a vital role and done a great job over many years in representing the views of civil society, so really thank them for that. Also, as I mentioned in Ghana, we have been engaged in expanding the membership and refining the role of the foundation board. As I noted in Ghana, and we said in the board profile that we posted on our website to solicit new members of the board, it's important for the board to reflect the GFC's global community and mission. As great as we may all think we are, who've been on the board before, having a board run by two folks from the Netherlands and one from the US, all from the global north, is not really representative of a global organization. And so it's important that it reflects both our footprint and our aspirations. It's also important that we bring in new voices, fresh perspectives, and additional expertise to help guide the foundation into the future, particularly, as I will talk about later, when resources are very constrained. So I'm truly excited to introduce the new members who will be joining the foundation board. I'll ask them to stand except for Craig, who's not here, so he can't stand, or he can stand, but you won't see it. So first, Tawila Narenda Jer. Where are you, Tawila? Oh, there you are. Tawila brings a wealth of experience in cyber capacity building and development, particularly within the African region, where, among other things, she has led the implementation of the African Union GFC Cyber Capacity Building Project on behalf of the AU, and supported the development of the African Agenda on Cyber Capacity Building, which is adopted by the ministers there back in 2023. So really happy to have her. Tawila joined the board a number of months ago when Inga Bryant left the board, and she's been instrumental in working with me and Olaf to pick the other members of the board, which we thought was important to have her involved in that, since she's going to have to live with these people too. So, and they're all great people to live with. Christina Camacho. Oh, there you are. That's her. Who currently has a cyber and digital portfolio for the government of Ecuador in Brussels. And she adds her experience in public-private partnerships, security assistance, and digital and cyber policies, especially in the Latin American context. So I think you can see already we're trying to get some of that geographic distribution and representation. Yuri Ito. Where's my friend Yuri? There's Yuri. Many of you, I think, know Yuri because, among other things, she helped for many years lead JP Cert in Japan, and that was what she was best known for. But as many of us done, she's had various different chapters in her life, and she's now the founder and executive officer of the Cyber Green Institute, which has been a GFC member for quite some time, so that's great. She has expertise in cybersecurity, organizational leadership. She can draw on her experience in both the US and Japan for that, and also has faced some of the challenges of fundraising for her own organization, so she knows how that works, and the difficulties with that. So thank you for that, and thank you for your partnership going forward. And finally, who's not here, unfortunately, had a conflict, although he did participate in our board meeting virtually, Craig Jones, who many of you may know. He's the former director of Interpol's Cybercrime Global Program. He was based in Singapore, and he offers really an extensive knowledge in cybersecurity operations, strategy, and public-private partnerships with a focus on both European and Asian markets, and a lot of experience in cyber capacity building. So we are very pleased to have them all aboard. So give them all a hand of applause, or 2 hands of applause. So I also mentioned that we're refining the role of the board, and that includes the role of the chair. For the last 5 years, almost 5 years now, I've acted as the president of the board. So that was a little different. It was both being chair of the board and kind of a quasi kind of CEO role, working closely with Mario and David. Though that made some sense when the foundation was in startup and even growth stages, it's not really a formula for long-term stability in terms of how you create something that's going to last for a long time. Over the last many months, I've told many of you, and I'm truly sorry for those who I haven't told. I've tried to tell people over the many months that we were doing this, that once we had all these new structures in place, which we now do, that I plan to step down as president. So this is my last annual meeting speaking to you in this role. So, and I'm really happy with that. It's not that I'm irreplaceable, but we're not replacing me. So we're not going to have, no one's irreplaceable, frankly. But we're sunsetting the role of president, the title of president, but instead of retiring that role and creating, the way we're structuring the board is more of a traditional board with a new board chair who will work more in a traditional sense. So its role will be including high-level supervision of the foundation, including the secretariat, working to expand the GFC's resources, critically important, and working with directors of the Secretariat to ensure the strategic direction that comes out of the SSC is implemented within the financial constraints of the foundation. So while there will no longer be a president, there will be a more traditional and important chair that I'm incredibly happy and grateful that, you already know this name, Christina has agreed to take on, and the board appointed her yesterday. So. And I'll turn to Christina for a little bit after I finish, just to say a couple words of welcome. I think it really does send a great message to have someone, a woman, not from the global north, take that role. So really grateful to you for doing that, and I think it'll be great. And just talking to her over the last month or two, and yesterday it's been wonderful, all of the board members. I also wanted to note that Yuri Ito has agreed to take the new role as board secretary. Which is it's one of the roles in our bylaws. We have a secretary, a treasurer, and the chair, and Olaf will continue to be the treasurer. Part of the reason for this change, the role of the board and the chair, is also to further empower Mario Bayen and David Van Duren, who you all should know, and if you don't, I don't know why you're here. You should know them. They're the co-directors of the Foundation Secretariat, who have really been, and continue to be, and even more so, be the executive agents of the GFC. Mario and David, you have been the backbone of our operations, the ones who ensure that the wheels keep turning and their ambitious goals are met. Your hard work, dedication, and passion have been nothing short of inspiring. Not only that, but it's been a real pleasure to work with you closely, and indeed with the entire Secretariat, and I'm deeply grateful for all that you've done, and I'm sure I speak for everyone in this room. So if Mario and David and the Secretariat could stand up. Now, though I'm stepping down from the president role, I'm not abandoning the GFC. I will always help advance the work of the GFC in some capacity. I've been part of the GFC since it was launched in 2015. I was at the first meeting that was held here at the OAS when I was still at the State Department. And I led the working group on strategy and policy before the Dutch government requested I take the role when this foundation was created. I'm also wearing a GFC tie, by the way, so that shows my dedication. It's a nice tie, though. For now, I'll stay on the board at least until the end of the year. I will help Christina. I promised I'd help Christina get up to speed and work with her and the rest of the board, and certainly with the team to keep the GFC moving forward, and as appropriate, promote, represent the GFC as everyone in this room should do to advance its mission. Leading the GFC Foundation as its president has been a very rewarding chapter in my somewhat diverse career. I've had lots of different interesting chapters in it. And I've been fortunate to work with an extraordinary group of people. Each of you has contributed to our shared success, and for that, I'm deeply thankful. And really, the community is the strength of this organization. But perhaps what I'm most grateful for is the opportunity to continue being part of something that is truly meaningful. It's no accident that I decided to take this role. When I stopped working in government, there's lots of things I could have done, but I cared so much about this mission. It was something that was really important, and it's important to all of you. The GFC is more than just an organization. It's a vibrant community, a network of passion, dedicated passionate, dedicated individuals who understand the power of collaboration and the critical importance of cybersecurity in our evolving digital world. In the coming years, the GFC will face greater challenges to its mission: fragmentation of the internet, geopolitical destabilization, and nations pivoting their resources away from developing cyber capacities to fully maturity, before full maturity is reached here. It's a bright, shiny object. Sometimes countries start funding. We do have a new working group, though, that deals with AI, so that should help and channel some of that. In the coming year, so we'll face those challenges, but even more importantly, perhaps, and more immediately, perhaps, critical resources are likely to become more constrained. I'm very happy to hear about the sustainable funding from the Dutch government, but also because of shifting priorities and government-wide financial constraints, the GFC faces likely significant cuts to its core funding. Now, the core funding is what the Secretariat needs really to exist, to operate, to make sure services to the community that are perhaps taken for granted by many in the community, like the civil portal, the organization of the annual meetings, and the administrative and logistical support for GFC absolutely happen, and they need to happen. The Secretariat, if you guys know it, and I think you all do, is already a pretty small and scrappy group. A reduction in core funding, unless other funds are raised to replace them, means the Secretariat will need to shrink, and the services it facilitates to the community and really to the projects and all the work it does will be negatively affected. Moreover, the ambitious strategic, and I've already said in some of these meetings, I will tell you the ambitious goals of the Strategic Steering Committee can only be realized if the resources are there to carry them out. So very much like Marcia said, my message to all of you, current donors, prospective donors, and really everyone in this community, is to do everything you can to help to support this organization and its critical mission. Now, I know raising core funds is not easy. It's hard for any nonprofit. We're not alone in this. And we've had great success even during the years of the pandemic and economic jitters in substantially increasing the funding for, and in particular, core funding, but also particularly wide-ranging projects. But this issue needs to be top of mind for everyone. The new board and the SSC, of course, will work to expand the pool of resources, but the help of everyone is appreciated. But despite those challenges, I'm filled with hope and optimism. Even as a recovering prosecutor, I'm more of a glass half full kind of guy. And with the expanded foundation board, with the diverse expertise in new energy, the new representative SSC actively charting strategy, and empowered secretariat, I really have no doubt that together we will continue to make significant strides in advancing global cyber capacity building. And I want to thank all of you for being here today and for your continued commitment to the GFC. It has been a real honor to serve you as the president of this organization. I look forward to seeing the amazing things we will achieve together in the years to come. So thank you. I didn't lose the last page. Thank you. So just very quickly, I thought it'd be nice if Christina comes up just to say a couple words. You'll have much more time to deal with her in the future, but I thought if she should just say hi to folks, that would be nice. Sorry to go off script.
Thank you, Chris, for your kind introduction. Muchas gracias, señor secretario general adjunto de la OEA, por recibirnos en esta magnífica sala. On behalf of the board, we are very grateful for the trust that you have given us. I think we have important challenges ahead, and we are really thrilled to go to work with you, with the Strategic Steering Committee, and all of you community, and put all your ideas and your efforts towards bringing this GFCE to a new phase. We have grown with a very global growing network, and we think we have a lot of things and new things to pursue. We have a new board with diverse skills and a diverse geographical representation, and we are really looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
So again, thanks for all of you. I'll now turn it back to Teresa. It's been great working with you. It's not going to end, so thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. Congratulations to our new chair. Thank you also, Chris, for your leadership. To continue further in the program of this opening, I would like to invite you, dear Rick, to join us on stage. Rick is the GFC Advisory Board Co-Chair and also the Principal Cybersecurity and Privacy Engineer at the Maitre Corporation. Please take the floor. Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. I don't quite know how to follow the drama that was the previous speaker, because it was some dramatic announcements. But I'm kind of up here as my name is Rick Harris. I am co-chair of the advisory board, the soon-to-be sunsetted advisory board, and I have a few remarks to make regarding that. I'd like to recognize my co-chair, Louise Marie Hurel, if you'll stand up there. Stand up. As she says, my partner in crime. So it's wonderful to be here, and I would like to welcome you all to Washington, D.C. Every GFCE meeting is a gathering of friends, and I truly believe that, and it's deeply appreciated. As many of you know, nothing stays the same, and organizations and people must adapt to change, as the previous speakers have outlined in the case of the GFCE. The primary purpose of the advisory board was to reflect the voices of civil society in the GFCE. The huge growth in the number of partners and members, the increasing importance of cyber capacity building in the globe's complex technological and geopolitical environments, and among other things, are important reasons why the GFCE should improve their governance structure. The new governance structure is needed, and we'll talk more about the Strategic Steering Committee during the next session. And I would add that I think the advisory board, as an advisory board, was pretty much in 100% complete agreement about the governance structure changes, particularly the creation of the Strategic Steering Committee. And so, kind of in recognition of previous and current advisory board members, I'd like to have them stand up. I know Abdul Hakim is one. Is he here? Well, in spirit, I would like to thank them for their dedication and service. I'd also like to acknowledge the important contributions of the advisory board to the G3CB, I got that right, and the development of the Accra Call. Other contributions of the advisory board included formulating GFCE contributions to the OEWG, encouraging civil society participation in the working groups, and helping them understand where they could find the best value from the GFCE. Civil society organizations remain vital to the GFCE, and they will have a strong voice on the Strategic Steering Committee and the Foundation Board. And as the advisory board co-chair, I'd like to thank the Secretariat, the Foundation Board, the working groups, and especially the people of GFCE, most of whom donate their time and energy voluntarily to this organization supporting the GFCE. So the GFCE is a strong community of volunteers who dedicate their time, energy, and effort to the GFCE. And this volunteerism is kind of nurtured by the Secretariat. And so I think the Secretariat's role in nurturing our activities related to cyber capacity building is very important. And so I started to think a lot about volunteerism, especially since tomorrow is the, I think, 23rd anniversary of 9/11. And I'm inspired by volunteers in this organization and other organizations. And I'm inspired particularly by my son, so I'll tell a quick story about my son. So my son was a US Marine, and he volunteered to go to Afghanistan and fight against terrorism and oppression. He also volunteered to do a medical mission in Ghana, where he worked at a hospital and delivered 2 babies under close supervision. And then he volunteered to go to Ukraine to fight against Russia and for Ukrainian freedom, where he passed away in November of last year, which I was unable to attend the G3CB because of that. My son wanted to make a difference in the world for a cause larger than himself. Similarly, I think our cause as participants in the GFCE is to make the world better by empowering people to use technology for good. As noted by the other speakers, GFCE is at an inflection point in its evolution. And I call upon all of us to renew our commitment to helping nations, regions, and people create a secure and safe digital future for everyone. So thank you very much for joining us. The AV is dead. Long live the SSC. Teresa?
Thank you, Rick, very much, and also for sharing your personal story with us. We appreciate it and are proud of your son. With this, I would like to hand the floor now to our techs at the back of the room, who will play a little video that will show us more about the governance structure that we have started discussing. Please.
In September 2024, the GFCE Strategic Steering Committee was established, a dynamic team that guides the strategic direction of the GFCE's global community, ensuring transparency, fostering engagement, and championing the growth of cyber expertise worldwide. The members of the Strategic Steering Committee represent the voice of the global GFCE community and are happy to introduce themselves. Meet the Strategic Steering Committee.
I'm Sorin Asafa, based in Pretoria, South Africa. Today, as a proud member of GFCE's Strategic Steering Committee, I'm honored to play a role in shaping a proactive, forward-looking, and inclusive GFCE.
My name is Krishnan. I live in Delhi, India, and I'm the Secretary in the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology in the Government of India. I expect that with the new restructured GFCE, we would be able to engage more effectively with a wider range of stakeholders and with more participants in the entire process, and the strategic engagement with all the member countries would deepen considerably.
Hi, I'm Irene and I live in Dubai, UAE. I work as a GRC consultant focusing on cybersecurity policy development for emerging technologies. I'm so delighted to be part of SSC.
Hi, my name is Rick. I live in McLean, Virginia, near Washington, D.C. in the United States of America. I work for the MITRE Corporation as a principal cybersecurity and privacy engineer. It's a very great honor for me to be part of the Strategic Steering Committee and help advance the GFC's vital capacity building mission in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Louise Marie Rill, and I live in London in the United Kingdom. Now, as the GFCE's advisory board sunsets, it is an immense pleasure to join the Strategic Steering Committee to help shape the future vision and the priorities of the GFCE in a truly multi-stakeholder and regionally sensitive fashion.
Hello. My name is Simon Kendall and I work for the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. The UK is committed to a demand-led approach with partner nations and international organisations such as the GFCE to deliver effective cyber capacity building.
Hi, I'm Joanna LaHaye from the U.S. Department of State's Bureau for Cyberspace and Digital Policy. As a member of the Strategic Steering Committee, I'm most looking forward to working together for our collective efforts in making a cyberspace for all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maartje Pieters. I'm head of the Digital and Hybrid Threat Departments of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands. And I'm very proud to be part of the Strategic Steering Committee and to strategize together with you the future of the GFCE.
The new Strategic Steering Committee is excited to meet with you in person and discuss the GFCE's way forward.
And we are definitely excited. Really good to get to know the new members of the Strategic Steering Committee, many familiar faces from our community. So thank you very much for accepting this role. And let's get deeper into the governance structures of the GFC. And at this moment, I would like to invite Mario Bayen, the director of the GFC, to guide us through the evolution of these structures. Mario, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share with you the story of the GFC to provide context of where we go next, and I promise I will keep it short. So, once upon a time, isn't that how all good stories begin? Once upon a time in 2015, during the Global Conference on Cyberspace in The Hague, the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise was established by 42 founding members with a vision of a free, open, peaceful, and secure digital world. The cybersecurity domain was fragmented and rapidly expanding, and therefore there was a need for a neutral, overarching platform, an informal network for international cooperation on strengthening cyber capacity and expertise globally. And the objectives were, and still are, threefold: coordination, to avoid duplication of efforts, knowledge sharing, and matchmaking, to match needs with offers for support. And in 2015, the governance was simple. We had 42 members, led by 2 co-chairs, and a secretariat to facilitate the community. A community that convened in global meetings. And in the first years, the GFC was about setting up this community and raising awareness on existing projects and programs. So from 2016 to 2019, the member base consisted of countries, intergovernmental organizations, international organizations, and private companies, all with the commitment and resources to contribute to cyber capacity building. And to further promote the active involvement of civil society, academia, and the tech community, the advisory board was established. And we enhanced the GFC's global posture with liaisonships in the UK, in India, and also here at the Organization of American States. And it was then that the Secretariat received a request from the community to identify themes for an international cooperation on cyber capacity building. A global agenda was formulated based on over 70 national cybersecurity strategies that resulted in the Delhi Communiqué. And to support this global agenda, the GFC working groups were established based on the 5 themes of the Delhi Communiqué. And then the GFC community was further expanded with partners who are implementers. And implementers are instrumental to support the working groups with their knowledge and expertise. The Women in Cyber Capacity Building network was established to answer to the need for a creation of a female network where women professionals can reach out and build a community of trust. And all in all, the Secretariat provided the community with tools and mechanisms, such as the Civil Portal and the Clearinghouse mechanism, to support the community in their cooperation efforts on the 3 objectives: coordination, knowledge sharing, and matchmaking. Over the years, the cybersecurity domain was further maturing, and the GFC community wanted to achieve more impact through their cyber capacity building projects. And there was a clear request to the Secretariat to support their efforts. The GFC Secretariat therefore started regional hubs to support the community to set preconditions for these projects. And the key elements were identify needs in the region through a demand-driven approach, and set up expert communities on a regional level. This all to support the community in a more efficient and effective project development and execution. And another important accomplishment, and we have talked about this today, was the establishment of the GFC Foundation and Foundation Board in order to provide a flexible financial mechanism for donors to support their activities, as well as strengthening the facilitating role of the Secretariat. The GFC Research Committee was established to support the development and delivery of a global CCB research agenda. In the meantime, the GFC community grew to over 200 members and partners. Fast forward to now, to today. In 2024, the focus is on the further development of the GFC regional hubs. The Foundation answered to the call for, one, a simplification of the governance structure. As you can see, that would be really appreciated, and a need for a body to guide the strategic direction of the GFCE. The GFCE Strategic Steering Committee was established. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the following organigram, so you will. A GFC community that is supported and facilitated by the GFC Foundation, consisting of the board and the Secretariat, and the GFC Strategic Steering Committee that is a representation of the community to guide the strategic direction. And this will be the base for the session that will come next. So with that, I would like to hand the floor back to Teresa. Thank you.
Dear Mario, thank you very much. That was a very clear presentation and giving us the history and also outlook that I think we needed. And the next segment hopefully will engage you a little bit more. So I would like to invite Rick to get back on stage together with Louise Marie Harrell from RUSI. The cybersecurity researcher. Welcome back. And I would also like to kindly ask for one more portable or two more portable microphones. And would like to kindly ask both Luis and Rick to introduce what we are up to do. One of you can take mine in the meantime.
Well, hi everyone. I think over in the video, I'm just Louise from London, United Kingdom, but I'm actually from RUSI, which is a shorthand for the Royal United Services Institute. As many have heard me say before, it's a fancy name, but it is just a think tank working on security and defense, and I'm part of the cyber program. But it is my pleasure to continue with my partner in crime here, as I said, Rick, for us to help facilitate this conversation. So you've heard that there are many different and new structures coming up within the GFC's governance, and Marty has said earlier today that we would knock on the door asking for input. So that's what we're doing now. And the Strategic Steering Committee is, has just started as, the new, let's say, foundation board. And for us to start and to actually have this first step, we want to hear from you, because obviously our responsibility is to provide, to develop the strategic priorities for the GFCE, and that should happen with the community kind of informing us and doing that. So nothing better than having the opportunity to be here at the annual meeting and to hear from you. What should those strategic priorities be? What should we consider, and how can we do better in providing that strategic guidance for the GFC going forward?
Okay, it works. So we have, as Louis said, it's important to get your input here. And as we're kind of forming the Strategic Steering Committee, your words are going to be, what we take in and what we process. And so this is the start of that process, and certainly not the end, because it will be a continuous process. And so we have some general questions that we'd like to present on the screen.
Can we?
I hope.
Yes.
Okay, if you can read those. There's 4 of them. We're talking, they are about priority areas for GFCE. What should GFCE focus on? How can we improve knowledge sharing? What role would regional hubs play in shaping and supporting cyber capacity building initiatives in the regions? How can the GFCE better facilitate the matching of country cyber capability needs with donors and implementers who can offer support? And so what we're going to do is split the room in half, and we're going to ask the right half, my right, not yours, to do the first 2 questions, to address the first 2 questions. You can sit at your tables and just have a chat about the first 2 questions. And then the left side of the room.
From here to there. So the clear cut is
the dividing line is right here.
Group 1 and Group 2.
And the second group will address questions 3 and 4. What role should the regional hubs play, and how can the GFC better facilitate the matching of country cyber capacity needs? And so what we'd like to do is for those Strategic Steering Committee members who are here, is to array yourselves at different tables. You can choose your tables, but we'll have one SSC member at each table. Since we have 24 tables and only 10 or so members, not all of which are present, the GFC Secretariat and others will fill in as facilitators and note takers.
If by any reason you don't see a Strategic Steering Committee member in your table or someone from the Secretariat, your responsibility on your table is to assign a rapporteur. So that person, one person at the table, will be responsible for writing notes in that piece of paper that you have in front of you. So this shouldn't be overly complex. So as I said, Group 1 is responsible for questions 1 and 2, and Group 2 is 2 and 3. And what we really want is to have this opportunity to hear from you. So just outline bullet points from the conversation with regards to these 2 questions that you've been assigned. So we have a couple of minutes for this. So I'd say we start off with the first question for your respective groups, and we'll take, let's say, well, we'll do the 2 questions, and we'll take like 15 minutes for those 2 questions, and then I'll select a couple of tables and that is random selection, so be ready. So you need to assign a rapporteur. We'll select some random tables to share with us your perspective. So please don't disengage, stay where you're at, and we'll have 15 minutes for that conversation.
Yeah, and there's a piece of butcher block paper and some pens on your tables. So we'll record the things on there. Go.